legacy means. It's what you pass down to your children and your children's children. It's what remains of you when you're gone.
Before we get to the main topic of the video, we want to take a moment and ask you our multiple choice question for this video. How many seasons of Game of Thrones House of the Dragon do you want there to be? We've listed 3 options for you. A, 3, B, 4, or C, 5. Comment down below and share your thoughts there. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to keep up to date with all of our future Westeros content. Enjoy the video.
Hey everybody, this is the Legacy of Westeros. I am Zach here with Shawn, and one of the cool things about that word legacy that you guys just heard through our little intro is about the passing of the lineage from children to children. And we just learned not too long ago that there's going to be quite a bit of legacy that goes on in the ensuing seasons of House of the Dragon. Shawn, let's go ahead and dive right into it because I'm really excited about this Screen Rant article. You only showed it to me today. I guess somehow it slipped past me. But the news that comes from this article is really interesting in the sense that it seems to be gearing the show towards the children. And the whole first season was basically all about Rhaenyra. So I'm really curious to see how this baton gets passed and how this legacy of the show plays out over the course of its run.
Yeah, and I'm really excited as we get a little closer to seeing this thing. Probably a little over a year away now before we see it. But it's filming. Stuff continues to come out. Stuff just Westeros related continues to come out too, so that's exciting as well. But I thought that this article does a really good job of preparing the audience what to expect for season 2, just in terms of story direction. But then they also drop, I'm not going to call it a bombshell, but a nugget of information that a lot of people have been debating about online for quite some time. But I'll let you, take the helm here and walk us through this Screen Rant article.
I mean, we could call it a bombshell. We could call it a grenade. It's a small bomb, but there was an interesting tidbit that gets included in there. But as you see in the headline, Brian Condell is talking about how the ensuing seasons, starting with season 2, is going to be focused on the kids, the offspring. And that's kind of interesting because there were certain story elements in the second half of season 1 that were focused on some of the younger players, as it were. And then the finale left you on a huge, I wouldn't call it a cliffhanger, but a huge moment involving the death of one of Rhaenyra's children, and just the look on her face that lets you believe, okay, we're going to war. The Dance of Dragons has begun. And so to have the children be even bigger players than they were in the first season is really fascinating to think about.
The only thing I'm concerned about is people being able to gravitate towards those characters. I'm glad that we got a few episodes at the end of the season where the actors and actresses that were going to take over those specific roles had a chance to get their feet wet, and they're not just, so this is so-and-so and they're new in season 2. They already got a little bit of time with the characters because we went through essentially 3 groups of actors, and that's a lot of change. But I think the fact that, the people that we see on screen, those of them that are still here anyway, will be the ones with us when the season starts. I do think there's a benefit to that.
Well, I think as far as storytelling goes, I'm not going to try to dive too deep into spoilers for people who don't really know the story or how it plays out, but it's probably a good idea to start orienting the show towards some of the children because they may be the only ones who survive this civil war. If you grow too attached to certain characters like Rhaenyra, Daemon, Alicent, Otto, people like that, there's a decent chance that some of those big players of season 1 don't make it all the way to the finale. I mean, you take a look at Tywin Lannister, somebody like that. He was a big player in seasons probably like 1 through 4, but he didn't make it all the way to the finale. And so it's tough to get that attached to parental type figures, to, aunts and uncles, grandparents, what have you, because there's a very good chance that they're not going to make it to the end of the show. So the orientation, the perspective, the point of view of the series needs to be from characters that are going to endure all of that so that you can see the show all the way to the end. That's the difficult part of a series with this type of storytelling is it's generally told from what's called a limited omniscient point of view. And it basically means that you are discovering things as the characters are discovering things. You don't have an omniscient, godlike perspective where you can tell what's going to happen as it's happening. There are some types of books that tell stories that way, but it's not a great idea for TV series or movies. And so you have to watch events unfold from the same time points that the characters are. But let's say Rhaenyra, for example, doesn't make it to the end of the series. If she dies in season 3 or whatever, then the show ends in season 3 because it's about her and we're seeing things through her eyes. But by being able to pass the baton like this, it gives the opportunity for the show to endure beyond the scope of the characters we saw in season 1.
Yeah, I think that's important. I do think that House of the Dragon season one still has a Game of Thrones ensemble feeling to it, but not near the scale that Game of Thrones had because there's just
Right.
not many houses involved yet.
Right.
I do think that's going to change. I do like it. Really does sound like they're preparing people. Hey, do you remember Game of Thrones seasons 1 through 4? Get ready because I think specifically an article I read a little while ago suggested seasons 2 through 4 because one obviously was extremely low budget. But like people love Game of Thrones seasons 2 through 4, and it sounds like that's the type of season of TV we're going to get.
I'd be all for that because the one thing that season 1 was lacking, it had a dramatic lack of the Stark family. And you know me, I've always been about that family in the North. And so to have Winterfell, to have the Starks practically guaranteed in season 2. I'm very much looking forward to that and looking forward to, seeing Lannisters, seeing Tyrells, seeing some of those big names, the Tullys maybe be in it, the Aarons are probably in it. There's a lot of those familiar names that are going to be a part of the ensuing seasons from a completely different perspective than what we know them to be from the original series. And so um I'm intrigued by that. But looking at this Screen Rant article, um, pardon me, that just snuck up on me. The Dance of Dragons, as we know, is a conflict between Rhaenyra and Aegon II over who gets control of the Iron Throne, and it ended with Lucerys, and his little dragon Arax being basically devoured, pulled apart, smashed apart, whatever you want to use for Vagar. That was just a plaything. It was a toy, more or less, for Vagar. And it's basically how the Dance of Dragons ensued. So obviously, we're not going to have Luke in the storyline, but with this civil war getting ready to ramp up, Condal has been teasing what to expect from season 2, series 2, whatever you want to phrase it, and he became the primary showrunner after Sapochnik's departure, so he knows what he's talking about. And he's saying that this second season is going to be about the kids who are now grown up to be young adults who have their own dragons. And if you follow the story from the books, that's one of the big deals is that there are several dragon riders in Rhaenyra's camp, but several of them are her children, and she doesn't want to send them into battle yet. And a lot of them are small dragons like Arax compared to a big one like Vagar. So it's not exactly an advantage that they feel like they can wield yet. And that may be something that we end up seeing them talk about is, a 12, 13, 14-year-old Targaryen saying, I want to go, I want to fight, I want to avenge Lucerys's death. And Queen Rhaenyra is sitting there going, the hell you do. You ain't going anywhere. Sit your ass down. Go do your studies. Go learn how to be a king or queen, because I am not sending an adolescent into battle. So there's going to be some of that tension in addition to the tension of greens versus blacks, which I think will be really interesting.
Yeah, the only like, and I wouldn't say it's a concern for me because I'm thrilled with the opportunity to just to learn more about all the kids in the show. They made such a big impression in such a short time. Um, and I honestly think without their roles being significantly increased, I don't think you would be able to develop a story as far along as you need to. And we also have to remember, like you pointed out when this video started, Tywin was only around for 4 episodes or 4 seasons of Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones lasted 8 seasons. That's right. Not six people, eight. And they're already without arguably the best performer they had in season one, Paddy Considine as King Viserys. He is going to leave such a mammoth-sized hole in the show that rather than looking at it negatively, I look at it positively. These shows typically do not cast bad actors or actresses. They just don't.
That's true.
And there is this golden opportunity for someone to take what's written on paper to step up and be the next Tywin or, be, whoever else, Stannis, you might not like Stannis, but he made an impression on the series. Davos didn't appear till the second season, right? So like,
Right.
there's an opportunity for someone to make an impression despite what's already been decided in terms of where the story's going. We still need to see the performance.
Right. And it sounds like we're going to be getting to see that performance go on a bit longer than some of us were originally believing. And that's where this little nugget towards the bottom half of this paragraph comes in, when somebody asked how many more seasons there will be. The showrunner responded, more than two. So we're looking at season one's already done. We're talking about season two. The question is, how many more are still to come? He says more than two. There's a very good chance that this show is going to go a minimum 4 seasons, possibly 5.
Yeah, I think Ryan Condal comes out, and I think this is your, never write anything down as 100%. Look at the writer's strike right now. There's a director's strike that's coming up literally just in a few months. Hollywood's kind of on pause right now. Not these guys, however, who got all their writing material ahead.
Yeah, technically the scripts were already done, so
Yeah,
they just don't have script supervisors. They don't have any of the writers on set, but they're technically shooting. I don't know if I agree with that decision, but that's what they're doing.
yeah. I mean, that's definitely going to be a video for another or a discussion for another video. Pardon me, but you can't tell me things don't get changed on page. Like there's too much improvisation on set to say that things don't get changed. I truly believe that. We just seen it with Andor. But anyways, that's going off on a bit of a tangent. I think that this is your ironclad answer, or as ironclad as it gets, man, that House of the Dragon will last a minimum of 4 seasons, not 3. I know 3's been the fancy popular number out there. It kept going back between 3 and 4, with the odd place suggesting it might go 5. Well, now we know, barring a disaster at HBO and Warner Brothers Discovery, that we are going to get 4 seasons. Dare I suggest there's an opportunity to do 5. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I think it just depends, like you said, on the ratings. I think it depends on the viability of the storytelling, the contracts of the actors, and if they want to continue, if they want to keep coming back. But I mean, if they want to keep getting paid for a show that is doing fantastically and making money hand over fist, then yeah, I think it's a very, very good shot that they're going to come back and keep making a successful series as they are. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this feud continues, this civil war goes on, how it affects the older generation as well as the younger generation. Um, I like that they're not making a new series out of it, that this is going to be all one story. You're not having to do like Star Trek and then Star Trek The Next Generation. This is the next generation living in the wake of the war that their parents started, and that's going to be some powerful storytelling.
I mentioned to you before we went on air, and I try not to be that pessimistic guy, but at the end of the day, we've talked about it at length on this channel. We've talked about it over on our main channel, Fandom Empire. That Game of Thrones has a look and a feel and a level of quality to it that needs to be met, or it probably shouldn't be made. Like you can't go backwards with this. You got to keep pushing the envelope. You can't cheap out on Game of Thrones production, because that's what Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon is. And I just worry between House of the Dragon, between the Snow Show, which is in pre-production, and now the confirmed series order of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. It's like, I hope they're taking their time and hiring more people that match the talent level of the people they have, and not spreading themselves thin, because I think it's important that despite how long it might take us to get some of these things, that it still upholds the quality that we're used to from the world of Westeros.
Well, we mentioned it in another video that there may be a exchange of quality and quantity with certain number of episodes per season getting adjusted, and you can definitely go check that out on our channel to hear our full thoughts on that. But as long as we are getting the story that is meant to be told, then I personally don't care how many number of episodes it ends up being. So I'm with you there. As long as the quality is maintained, then we'll be okay. Let us know in the comments what you think of this news, what you think of the passing of the baton to the younger generation, and the most likely 4-season order that we're going to get for this show, possibly even 5. Let us know what your thoughts are on that, and let us know over on social media. You can go follow us at Legacy Westeros on Twitter. You can follow us personally at the usernames that you see on our lower thirds here, and you can check out the Fandom Empire Patreon page to follow some of the other things that we cover. There's all kinds of horror and action movies and wrestling and all kinds of things that get taken care of with the fandom fanatics. And one of the deep dives that we do, you saw the screen grab of it earlier, we go beyond the wall with some of our discussions, and you can only find those by being a Patreon member. But if you don't want to subscribe to that, at least subscribe to this channel and smash that like button so that we get good ratings and can keep pumping out good content for you all moving forward.
Couldn't have said it better myself, man. Quickly, before we get out of here, I just have to ask you. You mentioned the lesser quantity of episodes to uphold quality. Now, I've seen this debate online a bunch, which is why I want to get this question in here quickly. How much is too little?
I think anything below 6.
I think
I
they can
think
get
it,
away with 6 too, if it's
I
right.
think it was a bit of a stretch with the series finale being 6, and they really only got away with it because the episodes were longer. Some of them were like almost 90 minutes. But I think if it's in the 7 to 9 region, they can probably get away with it. But if it's 6 or below, people are going to start complaining because you're waiting 2 years for this content usually.
Agreed. And yeah, I mean, we do believe there are plans in place, so that's not a 2-year wait this time, but we'll have to wait and see if that comes. Zach, do you got anything you want to plug, man?
Uh, just follow me on Zach the Voice to find out all the crazy stuff that I'm up to. Baseball season just finished, and now soccer season's about to start. So if it's not one thing, it's another, and you can keep up with all of it by following me there. So just ZACH the Voice, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Venmo, wherever you want to keep up with me. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the next stuff we've got here on this channel. That's another one of the big projects I've been working on, and so just glad to be here and looking forward to whatever we've got next on the docket.
Absolutely. Me too, man. It's always a pleasure. And Don't forget, the night is dark and full of terrors.
Do you know what legacy means? It's what you pass down to your children and your children's children. It's what remains of you when you're gone.